Welcome, and to an ever increasing number of you, welcome back. I'm glad to have you here. Expectations are the killers of joy. Such a surface level observation, right? Seems like I say this in every video. I believe that simplicity is a sign of truth. The logic is that if an idea can be boiled down to such clarity and easily communicated, then 1. It has most likely been thought through, and 2. It is completely out in the open on the battlefield of ideas. In a metaphorical sense, it is unafraid of critique and most likely transparent in its intentions. I am usually quite skeptical of overly complicated arguments that hide under complexity and the requirement of in-depth study to grasp. Anyways, the purpose of this video is to delve deeper into this idea and unravel the mechanisms behind the common expectations versus reality feeling. Firstly, I would like to take a necessary detour to discuss the mechanism of anxiety. One way to conceptualize anxiety is to think that you're always drawing a map of existence. In essence, you're always trying to predict the surrounding world. Well, anxiety is the feeling you get when the pathway forward on the map is unclear. For example, changing jobs. Usually, this idea brings up a ton of anxiety for people. Why? Because there is so much uncertainty and margin for error in calculating such a way forward. Basically, anxiety signals unpredictability. However, other emotions take over when you make a decision and miscalculate. Miscalculate meaning that you have not reached the desired outcome. For example, you left your job planning to find another one quickly, and you have now been unemployed for half a year. Emotions like disappointment, sadness, anger, shame, and guilt take over. Also, it can be argued that the more you miscalculate, the more anxiety you feel toward similar further calculations. Okay, now that we have briefly outlined anxiety, let's get back to expectations. We must make a definition of what pop culture means with expectations. I would argue that expectations are being used synonymously with hopes. So really, the phrase should go that hope is the killer of joy, because you can expect one thing to happen and simultaneously hope for another. For example, you expect your spouse to come back home drunk. However, you hope for them to come back with a bouquet of flowers. You were right in your honest calculation, your expectation, yet your hope or dream was shattered. In any case, the outcome is emotionally negative: disappointment, anger, sadness, etc. This mechanism is highly similar to the previously outlined mechanism of anxiety and the emotional response to miscalculation. I think that this dissonance between expectation and hope is the perpetrator. Should we therefore simply abandon hope? The answer to this dilemma is individual. Although completely true, it is nevertheless a boring answer, so I will try to outline some strategies for dealing with this problem. One way to conceptualize an answer is through the feeling of control. In this context, loss of control is signaled by the undesired or unforeseen outcome. You can categorize the world into two parts. There are things you can control and things that are uncontrollable. The minimization of pain from loss of control therefore lies in the direct tie between your expectations and the things you can control. In other words, your hope should lie in things you can manage. Using our previous example of your spouse coming home drunk or with flowers, your hope should not lie in your spouse's spontaneous behavior because you can hardly control that. What you can control is your response, your ability to communicate your wishes beforehand or afterwards, your commitment to that person, and so on. However, that still leaves the uncontrollable. Although idyllic, openness is a solution. As a principle, being open to the chaos of the world. Rigidity of emotional response is a well-known detrimental phenomenon to our thriving. Therefore, a goal would be to try and develop a plethora of responses to what life throws at you and thus increase your adaptability. Like I said, idyllic. However, if executed right, it does bring about positive results. openness to your partner, their flaws, and their spontaneity, openness to the seeming randomness of existence. You can become more flexible and less threatened by unpredictability, therefore decreasing your anxiety. As a final side topic, I want to discuss expectations in the context of art. I believe each of us were at least once in our lives incredibly eager and enthusiastic about experiencing a long awaited movie, only to walk out of the theater let down. The exact same already discussed mechanisms are at work here as well. The buzz around a piece of art is quite detrimental to the piece itself because it brings about the feeling of expectations, which are the opposite of openness, a trait or feeling required to truly experience art. More often than not, when you enter a movie blindly, you can walk out having experienced spontaneous beauty. If not, at least your experience was honest and not predetermined. Is that not the whole point? Again, as a summary, you cannot control the already made movie. Therefore, your response to it should be openness. And if you can control your response to the uncontrollable, then are you not in control? Happy controlling.